Hiya. Let's talk subtlety. Now, disclaimer. I'm taking this video from the perspective of someone who is not a, expert at sub. I haven't played sub in a long time. I basically didn't play it at all during War Within. And I purposely did not go out of my way to research information about subtlety going into this. Obviously, I read the patch notes, I know some of the changes, but I don't really know the rotation. I didn't optimize anything. And there's a whole disclaimer at the start of the last video going over the gameplay, but I'm going to just walk you through the process and see if Blizzard was successful in their mission statement. They want to aim to make gameplay clearer, easier to understand, make the path to improvement more apparent for players at all skill levels, an eye towards approachability by reducing complexity and making gameplay more intuitive. If they were successful in that, I should be able to understand how the spec works. And that's the perspective that I'm going into this with. This isn't going to be an in-depth guide on how to play it. This isn't going to be a professional expert breakdown on all the math and all that stuff. I just sat down and played Subtlety for a while, hit some single target dummies, hit some AoE dummies, and tried to figure it out, right? Tried to figure it out just like I would with anything else. And boy howdy, this spec fucking blows. Holy hell, it is so bad. There are an ungodly amount of unintuitive things and just complete nonsense that doesn't make any sense to me. So first of all, I set up my bars, my cooldown manager, whatever. And these are your 4 buttons, right? You have Symbols of Death, Shadow Dance, Shatter Blades. What they changed in Midnight, and what seems to have happened, is Shadow Dance does nothing anymore. There is no amp on Shadow Dance. There is still lingering shadows after Shadow Dance ends. And Shadow Dance increases Shadow Strike damages on here, but there's no generic amplifier to damage. It is all just Shadow Strike damage. Shadow Dance in of itself does not do anything. It even says increases damage by 0%, right? But it allows the use of all stealth abilities. And so stealth ability is Shadow Strike. That is your one stealth ability. Everything else is usable outside of stealth. So I looked at this, and I was like, okay, cool. Backstab does 1,700 damage. Shadow Strike does 16,000. This is nearly 10 times the damage of a backstab. That is crazy. Like, that is insane. And so you're not getting a buff from Shadow Dance, but Shadow Dance in of itself is used to Shadow Strike. Cool. Now here's a question. I'm an AoE, and I'm not using Shadow Strike because I still have Shuriken Storm. Like, why would I Shadow Dance in AoE? Just to use Shadow Strike, but I don't want to use Shadow Strike. I'm trying to use Shuriken Storm. So, like, the loop between Backstab and Shadow Strike and Shuriken Storm, generator-wise, I don't know. I actually don't know what's happening. And, like, Shuriken Storm doesn't really deal that much damage, right? It's like 1,000 damage per target, damage reduced, whatever. But all of it, the critical hits apply Find Weakness, and it gives a combo point per target hit. So I get a bunch of combo points from this, and there's a new talent, it's a rework, that says Shuriken Storm causes it to repeat after 1.2 seconds, right? So if I Shuriken Storm and use a finisher, right, it automatically uses another one. So in this case, it didn't. And now if I take that talent, using 2 finishers with 1 generator is really strong, and I get why it's strong, and I like that, right? I can press that and get another one. Cool. Press Shuriken Storm, get 2 black powders. Like, that's great. That's fun and exciting. But then, like, why would I ever press Shadow Strike? And then it hit me, Trickster exists. Right? Like, Trickster, Backstab, and Shadow Strike strike with an Unseen Blade. If I just Storm, right? Like, if I Storm, Powder, Powder, and then Storm, Powder, Powder, I am never getting Unseen Blade. Right? It doesn't proc. And so if it doesn't proc, well then how am I getting coup de grace? How am I... Like, Trickster itself relies on the fact that I'm backstabbing and shadow striking. So now you get the problem that you get with Assassination that they just took out, where you need to mutilate, or in this case, shadow strike, in AoE, right? Assassination has to mutilate for Caustic Spatter. They took that out in Midnight, but now Subtlety has to shadow strike, backstab in AoE in order to get Trickster stuff. So there's this inherent clash between all the generators that it doesn't make much sense to me. I don't really get it. But then there's a clash in your finishers. Because why am I rupturing? Because Rupture doesn't really do that much damage. And realistically, if you want it to do damage, you would need to take Replicating Shadows to deal additional damage to Shadow and apply to nearby enemies. And then you're spreading Ruptures. But then the logic is like, okay, well, at how many target counts do I need to spread Ruptures? Do I spread Ruptures to everything? What if it's like 12 targets? Do I still spread Rupture, or do I just spam Black Powder? What is even the point of Rupture aside from damage? Like, there's backstab and shadow strike damage against targets afflicted by Rupture, but there's nothing else Rupture related on this tree, right? Like, Rupture does extra bonus damage. Rupture spreads to additional target, and then it increases your single target generators. So why am I trying to spread Ruptures in AoE if none of my, like, if AoE isn't doing anything? Like, AoE Ruptures are just extra damage? So by taking Replicating Shadows, I'm just nerfing my Black Powder damage. If that makes sense, right? Because I'm spreading Ruptures instead of using Black Powder. But, like, why? Why would I do that? And so now I'm taking Perforated Veins to get extra Shadow Strike damage, but I'm not pressing Shadow Strike. And so, like, all of this is rattling around in my head where I'm like, I don't know what finisher to use. And then, like, I read Nimble Flurry again. I'm like, wait a minute. Auto attacks, backstab, Shadow Strike, and Eviscerate cleaves. So am I supposed to use Eviscerate now in AoE? There's a target count here where Eviscerate is going to be stronger than Black Powder. It's going to be like 5, 6 targets? 4 targets? I don't know, right? But that's, again, complexity that I already have between my finishers and my generators. They're both clashing. Both aspects of the class are clashing. It gets far worse because their whole thing is doubling down on cooldowns for Subtlety. And this is where things really get bad for me. This is where I just cannot for the life of me understand what they're trying to do with this spec. Because generators clash, finishers clash, and your cooldowns clash too. Everything clashes and nothing feels great. And I can almost respect that Shadow Dance is used for generators and Symbols of Death is used for finishers. That is like a clear delineation between the two that I can respect, and it's great, whatever. Fine. What I don't understand is why Symbols of Death needs to be its own button. And I've sort of heard this sentiment bubbling up throughout War Within, but why is Symbols of Death a button when Shadow Dance is already a button? That leaves you with 4 cooldowns. You have Secret Technique, Symbols of Death, Shadow Dance, and Shadow Blades. Reducing button count is something that Blizzard explicitly said was like, if there's too many buttons, we're trying to reduce it. We're trying to make the spec simpler and like less button spammy. Well, guess what? I have 1, 2, 3 generators, 1, 2, 3 fillers to finish, right? Like these don't have cooldowns. So 3 generators, 3 finishers. I have a cooldown finisher, a main cooldown, 2 more cooldowns, and if I spec into Subterfuge, I also have Vanish for 5 cooldowns. 3 generators, 3 finishers, 5 cooldowns. That is insane. That is so much compared to, like, some other specs that they've reworked. But the elephant in the room that I've been dancing around, Jesus Christ, the hasted cooldowns are so garbage. They are so garbage. And frankly, I find that the best way to play around the cooldowns is to simply not take them. Like, I'm talking, you don't take the haste recovery on Deepening Shadows, you don't take the haste recovery on Symbols of Death, and you just play like this. Because now everything actually lines up. Shadow Dance, 45 seconds, 2 charges, that's a minute and a half. Shadow Blades, minute and a half cooldown. Symbols of Death, 3 charges, 30 seconds, minute and a half. Everything lines up, everything works, and so what you get is you're able to sit here, and then you use all your cooldowns, right? Kaboom, and now you're just in your rotation. Now you're just doing your thing. This is great, and so when all of this is said and done, right, you're going to refresh these two. Fantastic. You're going to use all of your cooldowns all at once. And so we're running out of Shadow Dance, but that's fine. We still have another Symbols to go through. Kaboom. We're going to buff the Secret Technique again. Fantastic. And now we're out of cooldowns, but they all line up. Everything's great, and I can sit here and I can wait for a minute and a half. All my cooldowns will sync up. Whereas if I do the hasted stuff, oh my god. I have how much haste? So this is just the green gear that they give you. I have 25% haste. It's a lot. It's a lot of haste. You probably don't want this much, but it's 25%. It's a lot of haste, to be fair, right? It's a ton of haste. If I take Deepening Shadows and Swift Death, the cooldown on Shadow Dance goes to 36 seconds. That's a 9-second reduction. That doesn't do anything, because if you think about it, I need to get an extra Shadow Dance with a 36-second cooldown. I'm sitting at 2 Shadow Dances in a minute and 12. That just means I'm holding. I'm just holding for Shadow Blades at that point, because that's my big cooldown. Same thing with Symbols of Death, by the way. This is a 24-second recharge. It goes from 30 to 24. So now your Symbols of Death and your Shadow Dance, they don't line up even remotely, but they didn't before either. What's the point of any of this? Like, why am I hasting my cooldowns if they're not getting me more uses and they desync everything from everything in the planet? Like, at least taking Swift Death means that my Symbols of Death lines up with every Secret Technique. That I can get behind. I can get behind Symbols of Death, buff finisher, Secret Technique, big finisher, same cooldown, ooga booga, press buttons together. I'm all for that. I understand that. I can get behind that. But then why is this 36 seconds? Why isn't this 24? Like, why is everything desynced? All of this stuff is clashing the entire time. It's insane to me. Next order of business. There's a ton of energy talents sprinkled across this entire tree. Right? Abilities cost less energy while Shadow Dance is active. Gain 25 energy over 3 seconds. Right? Then there is Gore Maw's Bite. Causing your next 3 finished moves cost no energy. This is apparently another cooldown. By the way, 45-second cooldown, not hasted. So this is just back to Shadow Dance, except it's not hasted. So this would also desync. This would desync from everything. You would get 2 Gore Maw's Bites. Like, you'd cast your first Gore Maw's Bite with Shadow Blades, and then you get 1 in between. But it doesn't sync. It doesn't sync. You're just pressing stuff on just randomly throughout the rotation, just on cooldown, just nothing's lining up. But the whole point is that it lines up because your main cooldowns, right? Shadow Blades buffs all of your stuff, does additional 20% damage as Shadow. So you need to be doing damage and then buffing it with Shadow Blades. Then it also fills your combo points, so you need to spend those combo points. That's why Symbols of Death exist, in order to buff your finishing moves. Shadow Dance gives you access to the big Shadow Strikes that deal 10 times as much damage as Backstab. Like, I understand all the parts, but, like, my puzzle pieces, they're like the same polarity magnet. They're, like, pushing against each other. I'm, like, trying to push them together. I'm like, fit the puzzle pieces together, and the puzzle pieces don't want to. And it's infuriating. It is so infuriating. But the energy stuff here also doesn't make sense. Because if you notice, right, in single target, I have Relentless Strikes, which makes my generating moves generate 5 energy per combo point spent. Okay, so I have 100 max energy. If I use a finishing move, like say Eviscerate, which is 35, if I use this with 7 combo points, I get 35 energy back. That's already free. It's not free because I'm still spending the energy and then just getting it back, so Gormoth still does something. But, like, the energy is right here. It's already here. And so I'm just gonna, you know, do my thing. And you'll see, right, during my rotation here, in symbols in my cooldowns, I'm not running out of energy. This is the part where I'm doing damage, where I'm pressing my Shadow Strikes and all that stuff. I simply don't run out of energy. Doesn't happen. What you'll also notice is that my Shadow Techniques here, during my main cooldown, does absolutely nothing. Literally nothing. It stacks to 14 and then just sits there, and I overcap all of it. Now, I didn't understand. I have to be completely honest. I had to read Shadow Techniques and Shadowcraft and, like, the Ancient Arts. This stuff isn't implemented yet, but this has Shadow Techniques written all over it. I had to, like, read all of this, like, 7 times to understand what the hell was going on. I had no idea what was going on. Right? And so, like, you get Shadow Techniques generate energy. Okay, cool. So, Shadow Techniques, auto attacks have a chance to generate energy. Again, more energy that I don't need already. And store 1 combo point up to 14. Attacks that generate combo points can expend those to generate additional combo points up to your maximum. But my main cooldown already gives me full combo points. So I'm just building 14 stacks fairly quickly, mind you. And then they're just sitting there. And then after my cooldowns, now I can backstab and get full combo points. I can backstab and get full combo points. I can backstab and get, like... It's kind of cool, but, like, why is it useless during my cooldowns? And then I have a talent that says I get more during my cooldowns and it generates more energy. This is a capstone, but I'm holding all my cooldowns for the 1.5 minute cooldown that already makes this irrelevant. Like, what is the... Why? 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 I'm not using it. So I'm using it after? I guess, but, like, I'm overcapping all of this. Why is it... Whatever. I don't know. But with that aside, I'm sitting here, and I'm going, okay, my attacks give me combo points that get spent on generators to give me extra combo points, and that gives me energy. Then while Shadow Dance is active, my Shadow Techniques trigger more frequently. Okay, cool. And then I'm reading these, and I'm like, okay, after using an attack that generates combo points, if you have 5 or more stacks of Shadow Techniques, your next damaging finishing move will expend them to generate combo points up to your max. This is important, because this changes fundamentally how Shadow Techniques work. Instead of overcapping them in my cooldowns, the Apex talent makes it so that my finisher gives me combo points back. So I don't have to generate again. Listen to that. I don't have to generate again. But the whole point of my cooldowns is to use Shadow Strike, because that is the idea of Shadow Dance. That is why I'm doing that. I'm using Shadow Dance so that I can use my generator. And now you're telling me that an Apex talent, which makes my Shadow Techniques functional during my cooldowns, right, to make it just do something during my cooldowns and not just overcap for half of the duration, I need this Apex talent to make Shadow Techniques work. But at the same time, it makes me not press the thing that my cooldowns explicitly want me to press. What are we doing? Have we lost the plot? It blows my mind that this spec makes no sense. At every turn, every single rotational ability, cooldown, generator, finisher, every ability that I have in my rotation at some point in time clashes. My cooldowns don't line up, and frankly, my Apex talent makes it so that I'm not pressing Shadow Strike as much, so it nerfs my main cooldown. My generators are all fighting against each other in AoE, right? I have, like, why? What's the point? My finishers are all fighting against each other. Everything's fighting against each other. This is the opposite of simplifying. Like, there will be elaborate rules of, like, oh, press Shadow Strike if you have Unseen Blade available, right? This effect may occur every 20 seconds. So every 20 seconds, you'll want to press a Shadow Strike or a Backstab so that you can get your Coup de Grace and your Flawless Form and your Nimble Flurry and all that stuff. But then you get, like, random resets on this, and you can't track this right now. For the record, I don't think you can track it using the cooldown manager. I will double check. There was an update today, just to make sure. Just to make sure, can I track Unseen Blade's cooldown? I can't. It's not here. So I'm getting random, like, Unseen Blade gives me damage, big damage, whatever. Applies phased, fun stuff, and it gives me the ability to cleave because of Flawless Form. But then I get random resets that I cannot track that inherently make my decision-making between my generators more impactful, because if I don't use my Unseen Blade procs, I'm not using my hero talent. But I also can't track when I want to do that. So that's already, like, a complete L. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do with that. So I'm just gonna press Shuriken Storm. I'm not even gonna bother. I'm not gonna press Shadow Strike. Why would I? It's just a mess. It's just everywhere I turn, this spec wants me to not succeed. Everywhere I turn. How many targets until I use Black Powder with Nimble Flurry? I don't know. Like, I could sit here and do math and be like, okay, well, it's about 1,100 damage per point, but this is 800 damage per point and hits multiple targets. So do I use this on 2 targets? I don't think so, because this cleaves a lot. So 3? Maybe? 4? Maybe? Like, I genuinely don't know. I'd have to sit here and do the math or have someone explain it to me. Like, someone else needs to do the math for me. Like, I can't intuit that, like, okay, Black Powder, I use it in AoE. Like, I'm in 5-target AoE, I'm native Black Powder. I don't know. I'm usually the math guy, and I don't know if I'm supposed to press Eviscerate or Black Powder. The only thing I do know is that Secret Technique is on cooldown because this does the most. But, yeah. So I have infinite energy with a bunch of energy talents that I'm not taking. I have backstab buffs when backstab seems to be the worst button in existence. I have random other energy talents that I would never take because it doesn't line up with anything. I have things that buff rupture when I don't want to rupture. I have generators that I want to use but can't use because of my Apex talents or because I have, like, Shuriken Tornado that I want to use instead. This spec is a disaster. Like, this is just a full-blown mess. And I'm sure there is some way to make this all make sense, but the whole point of this is the spec should be intuitive, and as far as I'm concerned, it is very much not intuitive. This, like, front to back does not make sense to me. I do like that Find Weakness is just a buff now instead of a debuff. That's pretty cool. And then, like, Shuriken Storm has a chance to apply Find Weakness. Like, so I would understand if Find Weakness was like, oh, you need to Shadow Strike to apply Find Weakness because it's your stealth abilities. But then you immediately undercut it by saying Shuriken Storm has a chance to do so. So I don't need to Shadow Strike? Subtlety has been not fun. Subtlety is just not fun. It is a mess of ideas with too many buttons and just a jumble of random assortment of buffs and energy talents and nonsense. And, like, you can roast me in the comments for being like, oh, Whisper,
You don't know how to play Subtlety? How could you not know how to play Subtlety? You just look up a guide and do that. That's not the point. Blizzard said that like they want their changes to make it so that the specs are intuitive and there's clear gameplay and people have a clear, like I'll pull it up. They literally said making gameplay more intuitive, right? Blah 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 blah. Path to improvement is more apparent for players at every skill level. My path to improvement, sitting here having played Subtlety for like 2-3 hours, my path to improvement is finding out what the hell I'm supposed to do with all my buttons and when I'm supposed to press them. Like, in that regard, path to improvement, very apparent because I don't know what's going on. So my path to improvement is figuring out what's going on. And I am rambling at this point. It like, this spec actually pisses me off. This genuinely might be the worst iteration of sub that I have ever tested. I've played sub all of Legion. I played it at the start of BFA. Rest in peace, Zool. I played it during Shadowlands. I played it all during Sanctum of Domination. I did not touch Assassination during Sanctum of Domination. I tested it at the start of War Within. I didn't play it during War Within because Assassination was just more fun to me. But, like, I've played Subtlety for a decade now, and this is legitimately awful. So, I hope and pray for the Subtlety guys out there that something changes, because this is, like, Blizzard, this is not it. Hi, me from the future. One more thing. I didn't talk about what I would do to change the spec. I have a little bit of a radical idea, but really, Hasted Cooldowns gotta go. Hasted Cooldowns with this stuff in like 36, 24, none of this lining up, this guy has gotta go. So here's my idea for Subtlety. You can agree to disagree or whatever. And then I'll give you a bonus cursed technology at the end. But delete the Hasted Cooldown stuff. Like, delete it, delete Symbols of Death, bake everything into Shadow Dance, make Shadow Dance like 30 seconds baseline. That way you get like 3 Shadow Dances, Shadow Blades, all good to go. You could even make it lower, like whatever. You can make it 20 seconds, and then you can like think about holding and not holding and whatever, if that's really the problem. But lower the cooldown on Shadow Dance, delete symbols, bake the symbol stuff into Shadow Dance. Then what I would do personally is I would triple down, like they really want haste to be a thing on sub. I would triple down on Shadow Technique procs and like auto attack speed, like with Swift Slasher and the auto attack speed from Symbols of Death with warning signs. I would triple down on that. Triple down on Shadow Technique procs as like energy and combo point income, especially outside of cooldowns, whatever. I would also triple down on the clone stuff. Like, this clone stuff is cool. I like the clone stuff going on here. I like the clones from Secret Technique. They're buggy as all get out. Like, don't think about the bugs. But I would realistically, I would get rid of a lot of this stuff. Like, Inevitability doesn't need to be here, whatever. Perforated Veins doesn't need to be here. And just add a bunch of clone stuff, and then you can, like, be, like, clone ninja type of thing. I would delete Rupture. Straight up, Subtlety does not need this. I don't understand why Subtlety needs Rupture. For Deathstalker, you can literally change this one talent to be like Eviscerate, Black Powder. Hell, make it Shadow Strike. Like, it doesn't matter. But realistically, Rupture has no point in the rotation. Taking Replicating Shadows does not make it interesting in AoE. And frankly, having just passive generator damage on targets afflicted by Rupture does not make the ability interesting. This thing is just here to do a little bit of extra damage simply because it's a dot and it does more than Eviscerate. Subtlety doesn't need this. I'm dead serious. Pressing Rupture on this spec feels terrible. You probably don't press it in AoE. And in single target, it's just annoying because it's another timer that is off between all of your cooldowns. And then you have to sit there and you have to try and refresh Rupture during your cooldowns. But then, like, secret technique comes up because it's all hasted, and so the timers are all messy, and then you go into a Shadow Blades, and you have a coup de grace, right? Because coup de grace goes up, and you're like, okay, well, I don't want to refresh Rupture because I have a coup de grace. So then, like, it's a mess. It's more clashing that doesn't need to exist. Delete Rupture, right? You delete Rupture, you delete Symbols of Death, get the generators fixed somehow, get rid of the hasted cooldown stuff, double down on all the clones. Subtlety would be good to go. Like, that's my take. You can disagree if you want to, but in my opinion, that is the direction that they need to go if this is to be salvaged in any possible way. Cursed technology number 2. This is this might piss some people off, but there's a new talent called Toxic Stiletto. Shiv's energy cost is reduced by 20, cooldown by 15 seconds, and its range increased by 2 yards. Okay. Shiv's energy cost reduced by 20, and its cooldown by 15. Now, don't get ahead of me now. Backstab does 1,700 damage, increased by 20% behind the target. Okay, sure. Costs 40 energy, right? Generates a combo point. Cool. 40 energy for, let's say, 2,000 damage. Or, with that talent, that's 1,500 damage and a guaranteed poison hit for 30 minus 20 energy. So this is 10 energy for, like, what, 1,800 damage? And it generates a combo point, and this generates a combo point on a 15-second cooldown? Now, I'm not going to tell you that you should be pressing Shiv, but I'm not telling you to press Shiv. This is, like, that's how bad this is getting. I'm looking at Shiv, and I'm like, wait a minute. That's just backstab, but better. That's just backstab, but much cheaper. I get to press a free backstab every 15 seconds. That sounds great to me. Free backstab? It's dire, bro. Its spec is so dire. It's got to get a rework to the rework. There's no other way. You can't salvage this. Like, I'm looking at this. I thought about it for like an hour. In between, like, you guys didn't because I stitched all the clips together. But, like, between it, I was like, how would I even fix this? I realized that I forgot to talk about how I would fix it, but then I sat down and I was like, wait, how would I fix this? And the answer is, I don't. Like, it's so bad. Like, I can't fix this. Like, this is unfixable. You gotta like start from scratch, honestly. Like, all of this hasted cooldown stuff that they added, like, you gotta cut it all. Cut all of that out and just delete the Rupture and Symbols, and you gotta start from scratch. This is bad. It's bad. Anyways, now actually have a good night. Bye-bye.